an inclusive platform where ordinary people gather to share ideas, thoughts, and issues affecting them in their communities and probably collaborate on how they can solve these issues involving the community or the grassroots members. So this is March, and probably our host for today, I know, is Val. Val, you want to jump on and tell us a little bit about today's session?
So today, thank you so much actually to our guests for joining us. It's a pleasure to be here. And I think for today, we're going to have a wonderful session. Thanks, Peter. I think we can all see from the screen. There's something we are planning for April, which I think we can mention after. So maybe for now, what I can begin doing is welcoming the guests for today to introduce themselves, just to say their name and what they do, and what is their favorite SDG.
I think that's a good one.
So any guest can feel free to jump.
Right, yeah.
So Justin, you want to take us off with this? Your name, the SDG you're passionate about, and what it is that you do.
You can unmute if you like.
If Justin is not ready, maybe Magdalene can go.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Am I audible enough?
Yes, you are. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I'm Magdalene Siku, coming from Pretoria, South Africa. Yes, I'm I'm a fond lover of the SDGs for development, and yes, today I'm just standing in for my company, Sanctuary Inheritance, but I've been on the space and I love what we are doing as the government, the UN, the companies, the CSOs and so forth, in making sure that we accelerate the SDGs. And I believe even though we've got 6 years to go, there's still hope. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Magdalene. Justin?
Okay, thank you very much, Val, for giving me this opportunity. My name is Justin Mokua, volunteer at Global Youth Forum, and currently I'm working as an intern, Secretary General at Global Youth Forum, as an organization. We have.
Sorry, you're breaking. Are you able to hear us? You can be able to. You're muted.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, you are the last. I think we lost you in the last statement you were saying.
Okay. As an organization, we are working so hard to ensure that we achieve the Sustainable Development Goal.
I think
though the time remaining is small, but as an organization, we are very sure we would have achieved maybe 70% to 80% to help the United Nations achieve the SDG.
Unfortunately, we've only had the last statement. We lost you at some point. So maybe for your case, at times we could allow you maybe to switch off the video so we could hear you better. So I think, thank you, Justin and Magdalene, for introducing yourselves. For me, I'm Virginia. I work as a program officer. My favorite SDG is gender equality. I work at FIDA Kenya, so it goes without saying that my favorite SDG is promoting gender equality. And before we proceed further, I think, Peter, I'd like to bring you back on board. Just give us a brief of what we do at GYF, and then we can proceed.
I'm not asked about my SDG, so I'm not happy there, Val. So.
No, anyway. In fact, introduce yourself, what you do, and your favorite SDG goal.
Oh, okay, good one. Now I'm happy. So look, my name is Peter. I happen to work with all this amazing team over here, and we love SDGs. It's the food we drink, and maybe the drink we drink and the food we eat. I'm passionate about goal number 1, no poverty, and linking that to goal number 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. So those are where my strengths fall in. So Val, what I do, I sit here and talk and do nothing. But on the other side, I work with young people to empower them with the relevant skills to help them create a job or get a job. Purely serving as a CEO of Global Youth Forum, my role is to provide an opportunity or the platform for young people to thrive, where they can gain skills, create their own businesses, earn income, and probably improve their lives. So I hope, Val, that then gives you something in terms of what I do. And basically, I love what I do. It is fun. I enjoy it each day. And I know members over there have introduced themselves. So as Global Youth Forum, our big objective, which Val will be smiling when she sees, is empowering young people.
Sorry, you're also breaking.
Did I? Wait.
You're also breaking.
Now, how about that?
Now you're a bit clearer.
Now, is it still clear or I'm still on the cloud?
So at this point, now we can hear you well.
Okay. Just in case you can't hear me, do feel free to stop me, okay? So we have something
Okay.
really good there. So yeah, so I was on the objective of Global Youth Forum, helping young people between the ages of 16 to 35 with relevant skills to enable them get a job or create a job. We do this through hands-on mentorship, coaching, and sports program, which looks very exciting. So looking at the programs for Global Youth Forum, there are 5 of them, which you can all see, but today's focus will be on the ordinary voices, bringing the voices that are never listened to or never given opportunities to air out their issues to come and speak about what they think needs to be done and probably take actions on the issues they will have raised in terms of providing that opportunity for the ordinary people to inspire action and to drive a little bit of change in relation to the SDGs. So Val,
again. Sorry,
I think
Peter, you're breaking again.
I will stop there now so I don't break.
We can, sorry?
I will stop there so I don't break, but then I will turn my video off. I hope now that's clear. What do you think?
Yeah, we think you can start again. Yes, yes, that's better. That's better.
Now, if we are starting off again, I will summarize it this way. Today's session is focusing on the ordinary voices, the other programs, like Sports for SDGs, Molding for Work. We will dive right into those ones as we progress along. So Val, how does that sound? Good?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, good. Over to you then,
for
Val.
that introduction. Thank you, Peter, for that introduction. I think so far to our listeners, I hope you're on board with what we are doing today. So allow me to just jump into the session. I know we have around 45 minutes. So I think we could start with the discussion. So for our guest today, I think I've asked you who you are and what you do in relation to SDG. So maybe I could just ask you to briefly describe one of the best grassroots projects you have ever seen and the impact that project made in the community, in the vicinity or the region where you conducted this grassroots project. So you can either tell me a project that you did yourself or a project you've actually been part of that made an impact in the community, and which community was this? So for our 2 guests who are on board, who would like to kick us off? Or should I just do a random selection? Magdalene, are you ready to kick us off with that?
Yeah, sure, I can speak. Wow, this is exciting. Yes, in being a champion for the SDGs, it's quite exciting. I've handled before as the project manager for my village. We hosted a career exhibition and a sports day. It was on 2 days, and we worked with the schools in the area, and we also managed, because it was a group of us from the community. So I was just like making sure the project runs properly, but we had others who were doing other parts. And it was so exciting. We managed to get a lot of sponsors because the main aim was to bring the awareness in terms of, okay, you may be in a village, in a remote area, but you can still make a difference. You can still go to school. You can still do things that maybe they don't look possible to you. So that's what we were bringing. And we also had an initiative of distributing school shoes, yeah, to disadvantaged children. It was quite an exciting one. We had like, for instance, the department, various government departments, from the military, foreign ministry, and the others. We also had like various universities that came through, and the various institutions that are factoring into education, because remember, outside the normal education system, you still also have the skills development element. So those are some of the things we're trying to bring, to say, we are not all academics, you know, you can still make it even if you are not an academic. And the program went quite well. We featured most of the children who grew up in the village. Some of them, you know, they have success stories in terms of where they are today. They are engineers, they are lawyers in top firms, and so on and so forth. We were able to feature them. And also, what was important was that we were able to send a message, because there were people who came to visit, some of the guests from neighboring villages. They were like, guys, how did you pull this off? We would like to do a similar thing. So it became kind of a model that we could use for others to follow. And since then, it's been an exhibition after exhibition, you know. And yeah, I believe I need to go back and put it full force with sports as well. We made sure, like, what happened was, we also even ended up, one of our guys organized, we ended up getting a donation of a football kit for the girls team. I was playing also in the girls team soccer club. And yeah, unfortunately, he passed on, John Shoes Moshe, who he also played, you know, at the CAF level. He was very good a midfielder. So yeah, he donated a whole gear. It was exciting, it was fun, and I mean, it made our village become more visible, more like, wow, there's this village, you know. So yeah, people know about us. And I mean, it is only now enabling more development to come through. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Magdalene. So I think what I can hear from you is you're saying that there is now a heightened level of awareness in terms of what SDGs are and what you are doing in the community. And I like the fact that you've said there was a girls team and that you are even part of the players. I usually sometimes argue with Peter and some of my guests on the lack of inclusivity when it comes to women in sports. So thank you so much for sharing your experience. Justin, I hope you're with us, and I would also like to also pose the same question to you in terms of what was the best grassroots activity that you did or project, and what was the impact that you made, and in what level of community did you engage?
Okay, thank you. Kindly allow me my camera to be off because of the network issues.
That's okay.
Okay, one of the best grassroots action I can say, maybe it's the Molding for Work program. This is a program which is run by Global Youth Forum, where I was part of the program as a volunteer. I mobilized students to sign up for the program. This is a program which empowers the youth with the 21st century relevant skills. And after the 8 sessions, the youth are able to start their project of choice through raising funds. So I can say this was one of my best grassroots program, because it raised awareness on how to eradicate poverty. That's SDG number one, no poverty. By the end of the program, 12 students were able to complete the first course, and again we started another course which started in the year 2024, and we are running. So I can say it was able to raise awareness about the SDGs, and also the students were able to be aware what the Global Youth Forum as an organization does. And also another project I can say it's Football for Peace. This is a program which is run by Global Youth Forum. The program works on using sports as an tool to advocate for SDGs. I was part of the program, even though I didn't participate physically, but I was behind the scenes and the football for the goals which took place in Syria in the month of August last year. And it was able to raise awareness about SDGs and also empower the local communities. How can they use the sports of their choice to advocate for the SDGs? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Justin. I think I'm also hearing the aspect of awareness creation, which I think is very, very critical, especially if we're trying to get to 20, to be able to complete or at least see the realization of these goals ahead of 2030. So thank you so much, both Justin and Magdalene. And I think also, Magdalene, from your explanation, I got the aspect of fundraising, or at least the aspect of resource mobilization through some of the activities. So I think we can be able to delve into that a bit further. So the second question to you, our guest, is that according to the United Nations report, 12% of the SDGs are on track, but the rest of them not so much. So based on what you've done and the work that you've done in promoting SDGs, why do you think that only 12% of the SDGs are on track, and what can be done to get these other SDGs back on track?
Okay, thank you. Can I jump on?
Yes, jump on. Feel free to go.
Okay. Thank you. Looking at the time 2030 is almost 2030, and looking at SDGs by 2030, it's quite unfortunate that it's only 12% which are on track. The failure of SDGs, when I look at from my view, will mostly affect the developing country, and it will put them at a very risk situation. When I was doing my research and looking at what has made some of the SDGs to be off track, maybe I looked at goal management. Was it poor goal management? We need to ask ourselves what those goals which the United Nations said, were they quantifiable? Were they realistic to start with? Or were they simply foresights and fixed fantasy? Because when I was doing my research, SDG 1, that's no poverty, states that the poverty should be ended in all forms, whereby the current trend shows that 30% of all countries will achieve SDG 1 by 2030. And looking at this projection is so disheartening. It's only 30% of the 194 countries who will achieve this. We need to equip our communities with the right tools to improve their financial independence in order to achieve this. Also, it's very difficult to admit that we are going to fail this, but we have to admit it. It's unfortunate, but we have to admit failure isn't necessitous, but look at failure from the lessons which we can learn from these SDGs, since we are already half past way in the 2030 agenda. And I believe the member states might have two options: either sit down and reassess the goals in order to prioritize and break them into manageable tasks, because it seems these goals are not manageable at this moment, and they need to break them into small chunks so that each member nation can participate in achieving those small chunks. Again, as an organization, United Nations, maybe they need to accept that due to unforeseeable global turbulence, we have ultimately outgrown the existing SDGs, and there is need to implement different goals. Preferably the SMART goals, goals which are specific, measurable, timely, and realistic. We need goals which can be properly owned rather than the goals which have become a non-goal for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Magdalene, before you go, I'd also like to loop in Peter into this discussion, but allow me first to let you speak, and then I think I'll bring Peter after you're done. So go on, feel free to go.
Thank you very much. Based on what is happening, yes, it's a little bit realistic in terms of the fact that with the 6 years to go to 2030, we may not, 100% achieve, the goals. But what is great is that, yes, like you said, yeah, it's actually now moved up to 15% on track. We are 48% is moderately or severely off track, and unfortunately 37% is stagnation or regression. So we need to really accelerate the access for the SDGs. So with what is happening now, the framework has like 17 goals, 169 targets, and 231 indicators. That's quite a lot. Although given the time in which when we transitioned from the MDGs to the SDGs, I mean, that was 2014 to 2015. So from 2015, we're supposed to have made progress, but what is there is quite great, it's quite a lot. So I would like us to maybe view some of the things with that. What I would recommend is that we need to foster grassroots community, you know, to share research, the know-how and talent. So we need to work together, the whole sectors between the government, the UN, we are all part of and parcel of this. Although if you can remember that the SDGs, it is more expected from the private sector, a profit-making sector. So when we look at this, once the government can also now improve on the mechanisms that are being used for collecting data, because if you look at some of these things, events are happening, the funds, the financing for development is there a lot. It's not that there's too much of insufficient funds, but there's just the challenge of allocation of the available resources. So the grassroots levels in terms of economic development and so on, the localization context of it is still not going as far as supporting the disadvantaged communities, and we still need to also now factor in resource mobilization far more towards the remote areas that are, we would say, they are the forgotten areas. We also need to consider our youth. We have a lot of youth that we can continue to educate and empower, because the youth is what is going, the youth is the leaders of tomorrow. They are the ones who have the ability to take the countries even further. They are the ones who will be able to challenge systems when systems are not working. You know, they'll be able to come and say, but this is what is happening. Because if you look at it, in April, we have the youth forum, whereby the youth is going to talk about how they want to influence policy, how they see things moving, and how do they want to see the change. So I believe we can make quite a difference. And as long as we can also build in the process a culture of accessibility, diversity, and inclusivity in the process, like you were saying, Val, about the gender issues. Most of the times, most of the elements, we find that the women are left behind. Women, girl children are left behind in some of the implementation of the stuff. So it's quite important that we balance the gender across all boards. I'm not sure if I've covered everything. And also, when we look at the reports from the UN, the high-level political forum, it is also talking about how we need to also look at the human rights accountability mechanisms at global level as well, in those in every country. But also, I'm saying, let us also go as far as the local level. Thank you.
Thank you, Magdalene. I think that was quite extensive. And I think, Peter, I'd also like to loop you into this discussion. What do you think can be done to be able to get these SDGs on track? As we've had, it's only 12% so far for a lot of them. So what do you think we can do to elevate that, to elevate the status to like 90%, especially for our context in Kenya?
Okay. I think a good discussion going on here. And let me just, are you able to hear me? My internet
Yes,
is
we can.
bad. Okay.
We can hear you.
Yeah, Justin was very realistic. So we are not going to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. That's a fact. And Magdalene mentioned that we have 169 targets. We are not going to achieve them, but we might get even closer to them, or even at 40%. So for me, what I think needs to be done for us to achieve or move closer to them, one, to stop the wastage. Like Magdalene said, there is a lot of money, there is a lot of resources, but we are wasting them. We are giving them to people or organizations that are not using them to give us the results. So stop the wastage. The second one will be stop the mismanagement of the available resources. We are mismanaging the resources we have. And then third, there is theft. If we stop theft, which involves corruption, bribery, and all these things, and channel these resources to where they will give the values that we need, then we are more likely to achieve the sustainable development goals. And then the last one, Val, people are speaking about partnerships and collaborations, but approach people that you want partnership. They will not partner. People are working in silos. If you have 6 organizations, all of them claiming, for example, they are claiming to be building peace, and then you are working on a peace project and you bring them and say, approach them with your proposal and tell them, you come and we work together. Or they approach me and say, Global Youth Forum, can we work together on our peace initiative? They will be like, no. But on their website or on their portal, they claim that they are partnering, they are collaborating, and they are doing these things together. But if you follow them keenly, they don't want to partner or to collaborate because there is lack of transparency, accountability, reliability, because they want to do their things in their own corners. Still, the resources, mismanage the resources, get their own people who don't even do the jobs properly because they know it's their cousins, their relatives. So they get them into the cocoon and they eat the money together. So for me, I will say, one, stop the wastage, stop the mismanagement, stop the theft. And if you say you want to partner and collaborate, please do that. And don't just do things for, they call it the brainwashing and I don't know, greenwashing and stuff. Do what you say you will do. And then obviously we will achieve the goal. So Val, that's mine.
Thank you, Peter, for that. And I think I would almost agree with you 110%, especially in terms of how you're saying when it comes to a lot of these organizations, they would say they're partnering, but it will be very difficult to actually get them to financially support a lot of these activities. And I think also based on some of my own analysis, that one of the reasons why actually we are off track is that we focus on specific SDGs that touch on our context situation. So for example, in Kenya, we're going to focus mostly on zero poverty. We want to focus on maybe gender equality. So the others kind of take a backseat. We can look at climate change, for example. I think it's goal 13. Mm-hmm. Climate change was not really something we spoke about over the years, but now moving on, we are really speaking about climate change, and it's actually taking even a more prior stand compared to some of the SDGs that we've been working. So I do believe that there's also the challenge of the priority that we give to some SDGs that will actually be able to progress a bit compared to some of the remaining ones. So I think so far so good. And of course, for those who are listening to us, feel free.
Val, let me add something quick there. And sorry to interrupt. Look, people are following the money because everybody's talking about climate action. So if even they were working on technology, now they hear the funders are moving towards climate action. Everybody moves towards that because they've smelled the money.
Very true.
So you realize if even somebody was working on zero poverty or no poverty or zero hunger or decent work and economic growth, and then they hear there is money in the climate action, they all run there. They drop everything and go where the money is. So they're not sticking to their first priority. And that is what is killing most of this progress. People want to smell the money. And if they smell the money, they run towards where the money is. They go loot the money, steal the money there. Again, they hear something on like partnership and peace. They are all there again, going to steal over there. So, so it is really funny.
So it is feeling all round.
So there you go, Val. That was my...
I think.
Yeah,
thank you for that. I think that is actually, I think we can all agree that majority of the things, unfortunately, that are done in the world, it's usually with the the mindset of where is the most money, even the jobs that a lot of the youth are taking in the country. I want to study this career because it gives more money. It's a crazy life, but again, I think we're on the right track. Thank you, Peter, for that. Yeah. And of course, moving on, I was just saying, for those who are listening to us, feel free to raise some of the questions. Feel free to follow the conversation and also share your insight. The activity is on live on Facebook. And so feel free to suggest, give questions, give comments. We are happy to hear from you too. So moving along for our guest, the next question is,
I see
if you are the UN Secretary General,
Justin's hand was up.
Justice, okay.
Yeah. Justin? Yes, I wanted to add something small on this.
Yes.
The question we need to ask ourselves, are the top-down solutions suitable for bringing the much-needed change to the complex socio-economic and environmental changes? And the answer is no, because the local communities which face these challenges have been ignored. These solutions have been ignored. Their voice has been ignored. How can you claim to solve the challenge for local communities yet you ignore their voices? How can you claim to provide solutions yet you don't interact with these people to see how much are they challenged with these problems and what are the solutions are they going to bring to the table in order to help in achieving the SDGs?
Thank you so much for that, Justin. And I think you're also bringing the ball back to us. What is it that we need to do that we're doing a bit differently? And especially the way you said, we need to ask ourselves these questions, and they're actually very critical questions. But as we know, unfortunately, a lot of our systems do not allow for questioning of the activity. So, but thank you, Justin. Those are very valid questions. And I think also those listening to us, hopefully you can answer some of these questions for us. We'd like to hear your feedback too. So thank you so much for that. It was actually a very good discussion on that point. So moving along, and this is of course to the guest again. If you are the UN Secretary General, what policy would you introduce that will ensure that all SDGs are actually achieved by 2030? I know we've already agreed, both Peter and Justin have told us we're not hitting the 2030 mark, but what do you think would assist in terms of progress for us to realize the SDGs? So between Justin and Magdalene, who's ready to kick us off?
I'll go through. I would say the what you call it, the policies are there. The only difference here is based on what is happening, there isn't a proper mechanism of making sure that we implement policy to the core. Because for instance, we are looking at partnering for sustainable development, right? Yeah. But if you look at it, when Peter was highlighting the issue of wastage, the issue of, fruitless expenditure and stuff like that, these things can only be reduced if we stick to the policy in terms of can we apply the law equally to everyone? In a sense that if there's corruption, if there's illicit financial flows, when we find the perpetrators, can we charge them the same? Unlike, maybe this one is from the Western world, they are charged like this one is from Africa, we put more pressure. You understand? And also in terms of accountability, countries should be held accountable, including the implementing partners. They should be held accountable in terms of, okay, this is what you have, what are you doing, how are you achieving this? And if we don't see any progress, we're supposed to now come up maybe with measures to reduce some of the funding that is being allocated. Yes, so we could work along those lines. But what I would like to bring forward as well, before I go on off, is that we have the voluntary national review, which is done every year at the high-level political forum. So countries nominate themselves in most of the cases to say, I would like to do a voluntary national review in the next session and so forth. So with this, it helps countries push themselves to make sure that they move as much as closer as they can towards achieving the SDGs. So it's quite a helpful element. It's just that it needs an enhanced mechanism. Thank you.
Thank you, Magdalene. And I think I like the fact that you've spoken actually about the voluntary national review, because I know, especially for us who work in the CSO field, we were, in fact, just last week, we were having a meeting convened by SDGs Kenya Forum, where we were actually bringing in almost 50 CSOs to come and kind of share or please give feedback on the voluntary national review for the next report. I think there's one for Kenya. I think it was 2017, 2019. But I know in terms of the voluntary national review, this one's actually very, very critical. And as you're saying, even other CSOs and CBOs can actually take part in this, just so to see the progress that we're making as a country. And of course, I know there's also, based on the review, there's also indicators that we are working on at the national level. So it will be critical for a lot of organizations working under SDGs just to review and see what indicators are they working against, so that we can be able to realize this ahead of 2030. So thank you for that. Justin, feel free to go next.
Okay, thank you. One of the policies I could undertake is considering the voices of the local communities, because this is the bedrock of many changes like empowering women and girls, will help in tackling climate change and gender equality. There are remains still untapped in these local communities.
Sorry, Justin,
we need to. So we need. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we lost you a bit, but now we can hear you. Yes.
Okay. I'm saying we need to look at the local communities. These are the bedrock for changes like empowering women and girls, will help us in tackling climate change and reducing inequalities. Also, there remains a lot of untapped potential in these local communities. There are many resources in these communities which are underutilized, and we need to empower these local people in using these resources maximally to achieve SDGs. Again, we need to look at peace and security. As United Nations, we can see globally nowadays we are facing many wars which are causing harm more than good. So how can we achieve no poverty? How can we achieve gender equality, yet we have wars happening now and then? So we need to come up with policies which will ensure nations interact with each other in a manner that is peaceful, in a manner that supports each other, rather than fighting each other for resources. Number three, we need to recommit to deliver on the agenda through mobilizing resources and the investment needed for developing countries to achieve the SDGs. So when we look at the 12%, most of the countries which have achieved the 12% are the developed world. So these developing countries have many problems starting from poverty, which they are handling, and that they don't have the resources required to meet the SDGs. So we need to come up with resources. We put our resources together, help these countries to reach our level so that we can work together in achieving the SDGs. Also, we need to coordinate with each other as countries, as individuals, and as organizations from the private sector to the public sector. There should also be continuous monitoring and evaluation, and there should be reporting of the progress. Each country needs to submit the progress. How have they achieved the SDGs? What are the challenges are they facing within, and what help do they need to get in order to achieve the SDGs? Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. And I think from your point, there's also a question that I'm thinking in terms of, is it that we do not have enough laws and policies, or that we are not aware of a lot of these laws and policies? Because allow me to just share a bit of an experience when it comes to issues to do with GBV, and that is gender-based violence. We realize that there's a Protection Against Domestic Violence Act that a lot of women actually are not aware that it exists, and it actually has some very solid provisions. There's a provision that actually says if a woman is going through GBV from her husband, through domestic violence from the husband actually has to move out of the house, but still continue to pay the rent of that house. So that is something that a lot of women don't actually know. And once they're actually seeking for help in these cases, they think they have to leave the home instead of actually them staying in the home and actually letting the man cater for that. So I want to challenge you in the sense that, is it that we do not have enough laws and policies, or is it that we actually do not know that some of these laws and policies exist? But I like the fact that you said that there's a need for us to also balance the resources in terms of achieving this. And Peter, do you have some points you want to share with us on that point? Maybe what policy do you think would be critical for the country to allow us to achieve SDGs by 2030?
Interesting. But Val, coming back to your one, look, if you tell a man to pay money for somebody they are not going to live with, they will cause chaos all over the place. So we have policies, the policies exist, but they are probably not in alignment with what societies need. And those policies needs reviewing. We might have the policies that were made 30 or 100 years ago. They cannot serve me. So they need like a review, if you see what I mean. So one, the first policy I would set in place, I will agree with Magdalene. If people continue to steal, mismanage resources, and engage in corruption, bribery, and all these things, and they get away with that, just be assured nothing we will achieve. Set a policy that will get these perpetrators to book. And if you get them, bar them from holding public offices from across the globe, and get all their resources and recover what they've stolen. And just make that clear. We get you as a thief or as a mismanager of anything. These are the laws. You will never hold a public office. You will never get hired. You will never register a business. And that is the end of you. So have policies and implement those policies. That is number one. Number two, Val, Justin touched on it. If people, where we work, we manipulate reports. Oh, well, this year we have empowered 1,000 or 500 young people. But if somebody asks you, go and tell me where those 5 young people are, people start sweating. They can't tell you where these people are. So we are in a mode of, we can manipulate reports to please the funders. But actual things that are happening on the ground are totally different, for example. So our mode of monitoring and evaluation needs to go to the ground and not based on the papers that are submitted to us. So change that and ensure that our monitoring and evaluation will be calculated based on the impact you make on the ground, not on the forums and the talks you organize. Number 3, look, group people and do not, for every organization, if you have 10 organizations registered and they want to end poverty, have an umbrella of a country where they all work under that no poverty. So everyone who registers as a CBO, an NGO, or a civil society, get them to join a coalition and fund a coalition, not an individual. And then let that coalition distribute the resources to the grassroots level. And at the end of it, let the coalition report on the impact measured, that you can go and say, if you empowered 10 people, take us to those 10 people and don't just tell us about the reports. And I will stop there for now, Val, but very interesting. If people know these things out there, but they're not just doing them, they're just like doing their own stuff. Yeah, so I will stop there.
Okay, thank you for that. And I think from both you and Justin, I can hear there's a need for a strong M&D assessment tool. We can even have a tracking tool so that we see this is the impact we said, or these are the indicators we are working under. What have we managed to achieve so far? And I see even Justin is saying the challenge is not even the policies, but in terms of the implementation. So I think, as you're saying, there's a lot that needs to be done, especially on accountability and transparency, which is something that as Kenyans, we need to learn. But I love the discussion so far. We are almost done with the session. So allow me just to ask the final question to our guest.
I see Mag's
what advice would you give to all? Sorry?
Mag's hand is up. Maggie's hand is up. So yeah.
Oh, Maggie. Yes, Maggie.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Can I just comment before we go off on this one to say we need to continue to develop initiatives that raise awareness, those that build capacity of communities to be able to adopt that notion of leave no one behind, because that is what is crucial on the SDGs, because at least that will promote social cohesion, and we will have like resilient communities, you know, that whatever the attack, they are able to withstand because they are standing together and they are able to also protect themselves, and we will be able to bring about innovation. We can grow, we can adapt, and we will all have that understanding that, oh, from grassroots level, we can at least move up with the bottom-up approach, and it will really empower a lot of communities and the disadvantaged as well. Thank you.
And
Thank you for
quick
that.
one, Val, before you jump on the other,
Yes.
I was speaking to another friend and they say, Peter, you know what? You only hear sustainable development goals on the UN platforms. You go at the grassroots level, they don't know about these SDGs, Val. At some time,
Very true, yes.
I visited 5 schools, spoke to 998 students. Only one could tell me what the meaning of SDG is. So they say, get the SDG conversations out of the UN platforms to the grassroots level and get people to own it. Not take us to, like, say, the Europe, the New Yorks. Go to my village where I am, talk to people, and then get them to buy in. And I think just adding on what Maggie said, off we go, you see?
But there's a need. I believe I want to challenge the both of you that as much as, yes, you want to take the conversation to the grassroots, are they interested in learning? Because again, there's one thing, you know how you're told, there's this saying that says, you can take a cow to the river, but you can't force it to drink water. So we might be giving them a lot of this information, but they're not really interested in realizing this goal. They have bigger problems per se.
It is their right to know. Remember, when we look at the human rights, they have a right to know. And for the fact that they don't know, that's what causes the ignorance. So we are the champions. We know what they need, because bringing the awareness, bringing the information to them is what will make them realize that, oh, by knowing what SDGs are all about, by supporting them, already you are reducing SDG 1. So it's part of that, yeah.
And in fact, I agree with you. In fact, I agree with you, both Magdalene and Peter. I agree with you, their sentiments that there's a need for access to information. However, based on the work that I've done from the grassroots level, a lot of the times you would give a lot of this information, but they're not interested. They have, let me say, they have bigger problems in quotes per se. If you tell them things about SDGs, they say those are things of, even if it is a bazungu, they're things of the Western. So I think there's also a need, as much as you were saying, the way Peter and Justin had said in terms of policies, if we can be able to make these policies suitable for the society we live in. So maybe there's a way we need to look at how we also promote SDGs. Is there a way we can make it more relatable for the people at the grassroots level? Because if you're coming to someone and telling them we have to accomplish this by 2030, he's thinking I have to feed my kids by tonight. It's a whole different type of conversation. So again, I like the fact that there's that engagement to the guests. And just because our time is limited, allow me to quickly jump into the next question, which I'll give a minute each to respond. So I think we'll start with Justin. Justin, you've been a bit quiet. I'd just like to ask you, in terms of advice, what type of advice would you give to the stakeholders that are involved in advocating for SDGs in 1 minute?
One advice I could give to the stakeholders involved is to continue with the advocacy role. Let's create more awareness on SDGs. It pains me when you go to the village and no one realizes about SDGs. Women are suffering from gender inequalities. Youths don't have employment opportunities, and they are not aware about the SDGs. So I could urge them to continue empowering these local communities. Once they are aware about the SDGs, then we are good to go. It will be easier even to achieve them by 2030. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Justin. Magdalene?
Thank you. I would like to say, let us create linkages between grassroots innovators, academia, and youth civil society, because this will help us at least reach out even the most marginalized. And I would like to close with a quote from World Vision that says, stakeholders should create pathways for citizens to monitor progress towards the SDGs from local to global levels. And greater investment will be needed, especially at subnational level, to equip and connect citizens effectively to support SDG accountability. Thank you.
Thank you both, Justin and Magdalene. And last but not least, I'd want to tell or invite Peter to give us his advice in 1 minute, and then to mention our upcoming futsal activity in April, just to let the listeners know what it is that we are looking forward to as GYF.
Val,
So you can conclude for us.
Wait, Val, what was the question again, so that those who are following can hear keenly my sentiments? So
yes,
the
question is, what advice would you
Yeah.
give to all those stakeholders that are involved in promoting or realizing SDGs?
Oh, okay. I want to sit properly before I answer that. But one, be honest with yourself, my friends. If you go out and lie to people first, be honest with yourself that I'm passionate and I really want to do this that I'm doing. Because, for example, me, Val, if I claim to be serving the youth and people give me money and I loot the money or steal it, I'm not honest with myself. But if I'm genuine and I'm transparent and I'm a person of integrity, I might deliver the impact. So be honest with yourself before you ask other people to be honest with you. Number two, get the right people in the right places for the right jobs, okay? Don't go get your brother or sister or your cousin to fill them in so that they can have things. So just do that and you will find the jobs done. And even these right people will create more jobs for other people, okay?
Yeah.
Number three, the last one will be, look, if you mean collaboration and partnership, please go collaborate and go partner. Don't use them on your social media or your platform for PR. Go collaborate, go partner, and share the limited resources to drive the impact. Val, that's my three advice.
That's your advice
in the sector, yeah.
Thank you so much for that. And I'd also requested that you share with us the upcoming event that we have as GYF. Tell us more about it. What should we be looking forward to in April?
Val, I think even you yourself, you are informed on this thing. So it is right here.
Yes, I mean, I'm not saying you inform me. I'm saying you inform the team, the people who are listening, our listeners.
Oh, okay. So to the listeners, my friends, we love sports. And I wouldn't be sitting here speaking if I was. In fact, I want to go and play. But what is coming up, we are doing this. We are bringing 17 teams to play for the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, okay? So we are, because you guys have been talking about inclusivity and gender, we are looking for 9 male teams and 8 female teams, each representing a Sustainable Development Goals. And it is not just a matter of playing. We want to play with these young people. After we play, we want to develop with them an SDG project. And we are not giving handouts, by the way. We know that the handouts we can give, but they will not help these people. They will loot the handouts. So we want to empower them with skills to help them mobilize resources, link them to partners, so that together they can develop an SDG project and implement that SDG project in their own community. And in long run, we want to have sports for SDG clubs in these higher learning institutions. So together we can be working with these teams to continue doing football or any other sport out there to support them in realizing the sustainable development goal of their choice. So Val, in a nutshell, that's what we have. And I can see hashtags over there that members can use. IDSDP 2024 stands for International Day of Sports for Development and Peace. ICPFC stands for Inter-County Peace Futsal Championship 2024, meaning it will be going on every single year in April. And then obviously Sports for SDGs, combining nearly, we thought of 17 sports, each standing for an SDG. So in a nutshell, that's what we have coming up on 6th of April. And I don't know if you, Val, and Justin are coming, because you guys you have not been nice people. So
yes,
I want to say you guys are coming.
I can speak for myself. I will be there.
No.
Justin?
I don't know. Justin will be.
I see Magdalene saying she'll be lifting the white hats too.
Oh, okay. No, I know, Magdalene, the plan is we want to have virtual forums where all people will be joining virtual online forums, and we just pick a one goal, talk about that single goal, coach them and mentor them to build their project. So you will be welcome to share your thoughts. As, for example, Val, gender equality has been picked by a team, and it is a male team. I was surprised that ladies are not picking gender equality. So
that's inclusivity.
Yeah. So the teams are building up, and I have a final quote there before Val, you give us your last thought. The best education I received was working with people in the community on a grassroots basis, because what it taught me was that ordinary people, when they are working together, can do extraordinary things. And that was from Barack Obama, the 44th president of the United States. So I think grassroots, it's where real change happens, and not where offices where we sit with our ties and all these other things we wear and our suits, the white shirts of this world. The real change happens at the grassroots level. So with that, Val, I say that's what I had there.
Okay, thank you so much, Peter, for that. I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank all our guests. Thank you, Justin and Magdalene. Thank you so much for your contribution. Thank you so much for your time. Of course, I also understand that Sabrina was supposed to join us, so we accept apologies for that. Thank you, Peter, for stepping in and really also sharing your feedback in terms of the discussions we've had. For our listeners, thank you so much. For those who will listen even after the session has been recorded, feel free to be able to engage with us on our social media platforms. And we also look forward to having you on 6th of April at the University of Nairobi. So for all those who would want to either sponsor a team or participate as a team, feel free to join us, feel free to reach out, and we'll be looking forward to assisting you and working with you. So thank you so much to Global Youth Forum. Thank you to our guests. Thank you to our listeners. As I said, my name is Virginia Valdivia. All the best and goodbye.
I will stay on here, so